Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Freight Trapping Podcast. I'm your man, your host, your co-pilot, Mr. James Roberts. It's gonna be a short one today. It's gonna be a short one today, man. We had a lot. It's the holidays are always packed and full. So we got an interview coming up on the 21st, and I think that's going to be the last one, the last interview for the year, and then we'll kick back off in maybe the second or third week in January. Give my co-host a little break, give me a break, give me some time to get some other people in and on the schedule to do an interview. Uh, do some more research on some of the things I brought you about the ELDT coming in February. Do some more research on some new things coming up, and just kind of bring some more information to the page for you guys. And so, and then on top of that, we've been going. Our anniversary for the podcast was last week, and so I just want to say thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for liking the videos. Thank you guys for hitting that bell. I love what I do. I love what I talk about. I love you guys make me stay on top of my game. And by being a trainer, that helps me stay on top of my game. I don't know everything. And some of us who've been in this industry for over 15, 10, even 8 years, things have changed tremendously in the industry, and sometimes you run across questions that you have to go and do research on. I don't know everything. I know enough, but I don't know everything. So for me to sit here and tell you that I will know everything about transportation, no, but I get you very close to the right answer. And if I don't have the right answer, I'll find it, or I'll find someone that you can talk to. But I don't do this by myself. I have some guys with me. I'm with them. We feed off each other. When they find out knowledge, they bring it to me. When I find out knowledge, I bring it to them. Sometimes I ask them a question, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I knew that." You know what I'm saying? Or they'll be like, "I just read it." Or if they ask me something, I'll say the same thing. And so we'll just start kind of going back and forth about the information that we have found out about. So, like I said, this is going to be about a 30, 40 minute of me, 30, 40 minutes of me just ranting and raving about things that's going on in the industry. One thing I'm going to really stick in on for about 15 or 20 minutes is the hour service challenged. Now, what that is the hour service challenged is some safety groups have challenged the 30-minute break rule and some of the other things that the industry had kind of given us a leeway on because of the pandemic. And so now with the supply chain needs, they're extending it, certain parts of the industry they're still extending it, giving you a break on that. So what I would like to call, what they used to call, and they don't call them this anymore, but when I was in school, this is what they called them, these interest groups. They get behind a certain senator or government official that is running for office or that's in office, and they get them on their team with whatever agenda it is that they want to push, or a law that they're trying to get passed, or some concerns they have. So they try to get that particular senator, House representative on their side, and then they begin to push their agenda. So these groups are challenging the hours of service, and we're gonna dive a little bit into that. Then I'm just gonna skate through some of the topics, some of the things that I found come across the wire in the in my little old portal in my email, and I just skimmed through some of these, and we'll move forward. If you haven't already, hey man, go to Freight Trapping Apparel. We've ran specials throughout the week, and you guys have come in and you've purchased and you've got your hoodies for the wintertime. We got mugs, we have t-shirts. Just go to the website and you will be able to find whatever it is you want with Freight Trapping on there. I mean, it's for us. It's for the culture. I mean, we have the name Freight Trapping, but it's the reason we have it. Just like my boy, I'm gonna shout him out, Highway Bully. Man, he is one for the culture. I'm gonna have him on here. Shout out to Highway Bully. I have some of his merchandise. We support. And so that's what we do, man. That's what we do. So one thing I want to touch on real quick, one of these things, it says trucking company and its owner, driver, shut down for drug rule violations. Let's see what this is about. A South Dakota trucking company and its owner and driver. That sounds singular, so that don't sound too big. Has been effectively shut down by federal regulators for violation of drug-related and other regulatory issues. The FMCSA recently declared Rapid City, South Dakota-based trucking company Hall Trucking to be an imminent hazard to public safety and has ordered the carrier to immediately cease all interstate and intrastate operations. The federal order, which was served November 19th, further specifies the company owner and driver, Clayton Hall, he immediately ordered out of service. So this is a one-man show. He got shut down. Let's see what he got shut down for. And FMCA said its investigation found Hall Trucking to be egregiously non-compliant with multiple federal safety regulations, including controlled substances and alcohol use and testing. Commercial drivers. So I think basically what they did was he failed the drug test. He's a one-man show. He failed the drug test. And what you have to know is, man, you can't, I mean, even with the CBDs that we coming in, you could say, they could say 0.0003%, but at the end of the day, you know, if you use CBD, it's at your own risk, and it's a drug, and they shut you down for that. So it sounds like he was just. So I thought it was something that he was trying to use his truck to run across. He got caught with drugs, but that wasn't it. But you still have to. You still have to be aware of what you put in your body. I talked about this before. You have to be aware of what you put in your body. So just make sure that, you know, if you're doing CBD or whatever, I hope you're not as a driver, because I would hate for you, you know, to kind of lose your career or whatever like that. I know. But just make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Like I said, last week was our anniversary, and I just want to give a round of applause. 1 year strong, year strong, 1 year strong and going. And in front of the camera when we started this was my wife. She was here. She has a lot going on, so she kind of fell back and have been doing things behind the scene for the podcast, for the academy, and for the business. So where you don't see her, you do see her because she kind of helps this thing keep chugging right along. So I wanted to do some, we're still going to probably do something, and it's probably going to be just a big party with a Zoom party. You know what I'm saying? Something like that with some of the past interviewees that we've interviewed, and just kind of do a check in with everybody, and then have just a big round table of questions and answers, and getting feedback, bouncing off each other, because as you know, we interview everybody from truckers to shippers to dispatchers to brokers, all the way over to box truck handlers, not just 18 wheelers, people who own box trucks, people who own dump trucks, people who own tow trucks. We talk to everybody because it's all transportation. And speaking of that, it's all transportation. And you do know that there has been an upgrade to the testing. So if you have someone that's ready to go into testing, my wife, she's going into testing. She's doing her testings. She's getting her things done. And so before February, just remember that there's a test that's harder than the general knowledge test. It's harder than the general knowledge test, and it consists of everything transportation. Or put it like this here, everything heavy transportation, anything over 26,001 pounds, that test deals with it. And I would suggest that you study that test. See, back in the day, I remember when I got my license way back in '04, you could go in and you could sit there and you could pass each section and keep going. Even if you failed it, you could take it again. Failed it, take it again. And I sat there all day and passed all of my tests in one day, because you could do that at that time. You can't do that now. It's one and done. If you fail, you got to come back. So what I'm doing is I do it a little different. I kind of, the book, everything in there is self-explanatory. But for me, I just think that when you put theory and experience with an answer, then you have a better retention of knowledge when you go in to take the test. So just remember, you got a CVO test before you take the general knowledge, before you take air brakes, before you take combination. You have to take that CVO test. And it consists of everything heavy transportation, anything over 26,001 pounds, it deals with it, from excavators and farm tractors all the way to tow trucks. So don't have blinders on like I did when I first found out about it, because I think it's been in existence since 2015. I just back in when we started this, I hadn't taken a test, and so I didn't know. So 2 years ago, I didn't know that until I went in and started, the academy. I found out about it. So if you don't know, now you know. It's nothing to be scared of. You just have to do a little bit more studying on that part. Once you see like it used to be, once you pass general knowledge, air brakes, combination, it was all good, because general knowledge was a combination of that. Well, CVO is a combination of that and then some. So it's just It's just another test to make sure you know the history of trucking and know what to look for when you're in the truck and you're riding on the fairway, on the highway, trying to get to and fro. That you know what you're looking at. Let's just touch on this real quick. One more real quick topic before we get into the meat of what we're here for. FMCSA extends COVID-19 hours of service waivers for haulers of some good. I know they extended them again for livestock. As you know, there quote unquote is a shortage of meat supply. So in order to get that shortage supply taken care of, the supply chain, which is the trucker, has to be able to get that beef, that chicken, that pig, that poultry. They have to be able to get there. So what they've done is they've lifted the hours of service for them again. So let's read the article. The FMCSA has extended until February 28 its COVID-19 emergency declaration. It was due to expire today, which today was December the 4th. The declaration waives Part 395.3 maximum driving time of Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulation for carriers providing emergency relief related to the pandemic. The declaration is limited to the transportation of, which when they say limited to, it means that it only applies to livestock and livestock feed, supplies, medical supplies, and equipment related to testing and diagnostics, vaccines, constitute products and medical supplies, supplies and equipment necessary for community safety, sanitation, and prevention, food, paper products, and other groceries for emergency restocking, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and ethanol alcohol, supplies to assist individuals impacted by the consequences of COVID-19. So basically, if you are hauling freight and you have something on there that needs to be supplied, like say for instance, you're hauling, for me, if you're hauling those little pellets that they make the water bottles out of, they call them resins. If you're hauling resins, you are part of the pandemic relief because you're hauling a product that needs to go to a place in order to be manufactured and turned into a bottle so that water can be put in that bottle so that it can be supplied to the grocery stores, which means that water is not food. So you are exempt. Anybody carrying anything. Now, the only thing I didn't see on there was like heavy machinery, oil field pipe, machines that go from one place to the other, gears, gaskets, all of that kind of stuff. That's not considered, according to the article, that's not considered in the realm of what hours of service are to be curtailed. So if you're not hauling that stuff, man, please don't go under the emergency rule, because I did an episode, I did a talk on them cracking down and auditing those who are saying that they haul emergency relief products, and they're cracking down on you. So please. Hold on, I got a question here. Jared Fitzgerald, how you doing? Is the CVO test only for Texas? this is the first I've heard of that. No, it's a federal test that they make up and they put forward. Mr. Fitzgerald, thank you for your question. Um, they put forth for all DMV CCDL drivers, and as I said, Gerald, in February you will have to have a certificate from a registered training academy before you can even go in and take the test. So if you want to start your career in trucking, I suggest that you start it now before February of 2022 so that you can be exempt from that. So as long as you hold a CLP before February, you will be exempt from having them have a certificate from a registered training facility. It don't have to be a school. It could be a school. It could be an academy. As long as it's a registered, state of Texas registered training facility with certified trainers, you will be able to go in there and take the test after February of 2022. But if you do it before, all you need to do is go in there and pass those tests and get your CLP. Then it would take 6 months for you from then to go in and take the driving portion of it and pass it. So I don't know where you're from. Where you from, Mr. Fitzgerald? Uh, Let me know where you're from, Mr. Jared, and I'll help you check on that. Email me at thefreighttrappingpodcast@gmail.com. Okay, good info. Thank you. I'm currently talking to Houston Community College to try and see about getting aid for training. Okay, and if you can't get aid from there, go to. Okay, you moved here last month. Okay, go to go to I'm drawing a blank. The aid you probably can get is from I wish my wife was on here. Right, you don't want to get into a contract. You're absolutely right. You don't want to get into a contract with a mega, because then they'll have you under contract for a year, and then they'll probably have you out. They'll say they'll have you back in a week. They'll keep you out there for 2 months. You're definitely right. You don't want to get into a contract. Okay, you got nothing but time. Hey, check this out. I mean, We do have a training facility. I do help. I do train, and I do help guys and ladies get their CDL. The age you may be looking for is hit me. Let me put. Hold on, Mr. Gerald. Let me put this in the. Let me put this in the chat. I'm gonna put this in the chat. You can set up a consultation with me, and and you can set up a consultation with me, and I'll have that information from you. If Houston Community College doesn't work out, you can go to it used to be Houston Job Training Partnership. What's that? What's that? I forgot the name of that center, but you can go in there and they can give you some assistance also. So if you would do that, if you set up a consultation with me, I will be able to have all of that information for you. Uh, I will be able to have all that information for you. I'm about to put it in the chat right now, Mr. Gerald, and anybody. I mean, anybody who needs any consultation on that, uh, on that, and information about the about driving and where to get aid from and all of that kind of stuff. Uh, Send me an email. Go to that Calendly and you can get and we can talk. We can talk off air, and and do all of that. Hold on, guys. Give me a minute. Okay, so there it is. If you would go in there, that's the calendar list. Mr. Gerald. You can go to that list, and I mean you can go to that calendar, and then you can set up a consultation call with me, Mr. Gerald. Here it is, right here. You can set up a consultation with me. I have that facility I was telling you about, and then we can go, and maybe I have a service that that'll fit you. Maybe you can use my services once you go to that facility and get some aid, and maybe we could talk. Maybe we could talk then. What's up with Facebook? Maybe I know we can talk then. So um hey, thank you for your question. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Whenever you feel like you have a question, man, you can come on. We on here every Sunday from 6 to 8. This is gonna be a short one tonight. Let me dive into the subject that we're here to talk about. Hours of service challenge. Now I just read about the hours of service that they extended for certain areas of relief for the pandemic, right? So this is what has just came down the pike in the last couple of. Yes, sir, man. Anytime you're not any question you have, man. I take my time to answer them the best I can, and uh, 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 I don't care if it's here, man. I take my time. I'm here to help you guys get on, get your CDLs, start a new career. I'm here to help you guys. That's what it's for. But all of the information is also in the description of the YouTube. If you have any questions pertaining to the academy email is in there. Everything's in there. Everything is in the description. So let's talk about this. Hours of service challenge laid out in DC appeals court, right? Safety groups, Teamsters zero in on short haul 30-minute break rule changes, assert they will lead to more truck crashes. Now, let me say this here. We had a really bad accident here in Houston on Friday. Was it Friday? Thursday night, I think. It was on one of the I think it was on the Hardy Toll Road. A van swerved and jumped the barrier and caught fire. He was hauling chemicals. I don't know if they was. I don't think they were explosive, but they were highly flammable. And when he went over the barrier, he caught fire and lost his life. Now nobody knows the cause, but when stuff like that happens, when we've had, I think we had about 4 or 5 18-wheeler accidents last week. And when you begin to have, when the crash rate begins to go up concerning 18-wheelers and any transportation vehicle, tow truck, if you have an accident in a tractor, anything that's pertaining to transportation and the hauling of anything, you will have your crash rates go up. And so this is where the numbers they talk about and their reason for challenging the hours of service, they use this data to make their point. And so I'm going to read the article. We're going to chop it up a little bit, and then I'm going to let you guys go. 3 safety groups in the Teamsters Union have filed their initial petition in federal courts appeals challenging the federal truck driver hours of service final rule that went into effect last year. The group zeroed in on the short haul and 30-minute rest provision. See, when you have a certain interest, like they say, they zeroed in on the short haul and the 30-minute, because going after any other part of the hours of service is null and void, because that hasn't changed. That 14-hour rule and that 11-hour rule hasn't changed, and it won't change. So they zero in on the things that kind of move up and down the scale a little bit, and so that they can stop that scale from moving. In filing late Friday with the U.S. Court of Appeals, the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, advocates for highway and auto safety, parents against tired truck drivers. See, when they came up with MAD, Mothers Against Drug Drivers, dads against drunk drivers, those were big interest groups in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, early 2000s. Those were some very big interest group, because at that time the drug rate was high. Drunk driving was at an all-time high. Deaths was at an all-time high from automobile accidents. And so that was a focus of the groups. And so now you have parents against tired truckers. I don't know how they would know that a trucker was tired, but it's parents against tired truckers, which that's another interest group. And you gotta, with everything you do, you have pros and cons. There's pros and cons in every industry. You could go in and there's an interest group that will go against church starting at 9:00 if they had a congressman or house representative that will go with them. You got to understand that these interest groups are these people with special interests. They focus in on things like that. So I'm just that name just kind of, I've never ever seen or heard of the interest group Parents Against Tired Truckers. I've never heard of that, because you have FMCSA, which is the federal monitors of truckers. You have DOT that pull you over. You have all of this different stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that some truckers don't drive tired. You have people in four-wheelers that drive tired. But because you're in a 80,000-pound vehicle, it's more of an interest. It's more of a safety risk if you drive tired. I do not advocate you to drive tired. If you're tired, pull over, take your break, and get your rest and start again. Do not drive tired. It is a public safety risk. I'm just tripping on the name Parents Against Tired Truckers. Okay. Citizens of Reliable and Safe Highways and the Teamsters claim that by making the rules more flexible for the industry, the FMCSA made truck driving more dangerous. I don't agree with that. I do agree. I do not agree with that. I do not agree with that. I do not agree with that at all. I do not agree with that at all. Overall, and this is strictly my opinion. It's an opinion. It's not a fact. It's my opinion, and I'm not trying to say my opinion is right. I'm just saying I don't agree with it. Overall, although the final rule pays lip service to safety and driver health, it ignores factors that affect safety and health, and it fails to demonstrate that the changes were the product of reasoned decision making, the group asserts. The final rule provision on short haul operations and the 30-minute break requirements are arbitrary and capricious and should be set aside. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, because at the end of the day, what these rules do, you can't monitor a truck driver to know if he's tired or sleepy. You don't have enough DOT officers for that. You don't have enough officers on the highway for that. You don't have enough of anything for that. And you can't even, quote unquote, deputize the public to say, hey, you can pull over a truck driver and ask if he's tired. No, you can't do that. That's a violation. No, you can't do that. So how are you gonna? It's just like you can't even monitor if somebody's drinking and driving. You just can't do it. You can't monitor if they've been drinking before they get in the truck. You can't monitor if they've been doing drugs before they get in behind the wheel of a car. You just can't monitor it. You just have to say, hey, I pray that this professional driver with a CDL adheres to the rules that we've put in place. And so you just have to be able to, when you do those spot checks, when you do those, when they're driving down the road, they have to go through the scale and all of that kind of stuff. You just have to hope and pray that this is one of those drivers that takes his job seriously, that takes public safety seriously, that takes that you're in an 18,000-pound vehicle and you value other people going home to their family just like you value going home to your family at the end of the day. That's what the rule is for. It sets boundaries, but at the same time, it's saying that we have professional drivers. That's why they give us tickets for anything. There was an accident, and a driver was pulling into a driveway. He made a left turn into a driveway. Dude come flying over the hill doing 80. Clipped the back of his DOT bar on his trailer, which means that his trailer was almost out of the street, but it was still in the street enough for this vehicle to clip it. So when the vehicle clipped it, because he was going so fast, it shot him over to the curve and it put him in the air and he came down. He didn't flip over. Good God, he didn't flip over, but he came down. Don't you know that guy got a ticket for not controlling the lane? Why? Because he didn't exit the lane in a timely fashion. Why? Because he's a professional truck driver and he should know to exit the lane as soon as possible. So they wrote him a ticket, even though the guy said, yeah, man, I was speeding. Such and such was happening. I was running from somebody. They were chasing me. Even though he admitted he was speeding, they still gave the truck driver a ticket. Why? Because they consider us professional drivers. So let DOT do their job. These interest groups that's come in and say, no, FMCSA, you're wrong for this. No, let FMCSA do their job. And I think they've been doing a hell of a job. Even though some of the regulations they put in place, I be like, ah, man, they tripping. Just like when they came up with the ELD, saying that, you know, if you have a federal contract or you getting federal dollars, you have to have ELD, which means that I gotta run under the electronic logs, and when I'm in violation, they gonna shoot it to the monitoring service. Then the monitoring service gonna shoot it back to the the owner of the truck. Then guess what? When you get audited, they're gonna be like, hey man, why was this guy in violation? But as time goes on, you get used to that stuff. You get used to the regulations that come in. And then I don't like cameras being in the truck. But I drove for a company that had cameras facing out and in. And at the end of the day, I found that it saved me. And then it made me a better driver. It made me a more conscious driver. Now, like I said, everything has its pros and cons. Everything has its pros and cons. Nothing is a perfect science. And that's what I'm trying to say here. It's not a perfect science when you put together something that you consider to be a relief for the public. FMCSA believes that they have professional drivers behind the truck that's professional enough to know that, hey, I'm tired, let me lay down. So they don't need, I don't think, special interest groups that come in and try to make their stamp on the industry to have an opinion about it. I think FMCSA is doing their job. And if a driver is found that he's not in compliance, then they deal with him. You can't stop someone from coming in your home, but you can protect your home. You can protect your home. And that's what I teach all the time. If you're not a 18-wheeler driver and you know someone that is, ask them, hey man, what do I do if I'm driving and an 18-wheeler is behaving erratically? What do I do? It's just like, what do you do when you have a road rage? You think you have a road rage incident about to come up. You have to put cognitive plans in place so that if stuff like this happens, so that you can get home to your family on your own recognizance, not on the driver's recognizance. If I mess up, FMCSA is going to deal with me. If I mess up on my logs and I say I took a break and I didn't, and they come to find out, hey, then they will deal with me. But nothing is a perfect science, is what I'm trying to say. And all they've done was try to make it easier for America, especially when the pandemic hit. I worked all through the pandemic. I delivered all kind of stuff to all kind of people, to all kind of households, all because I was trying to make it easier for their family to deal with this pandemic. I've delivered everything from water to diapers for the elderly. I've delivered stuff to old folks' home. I've delivered stuff to homes for the mentally ill. I've delivered stuff to grocery stores. I've delivered packages after packages after packages. All in the name of helping America deal with the pandemic that has come over, and my opinion about how it was handled is neither here nor there. That's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about transportation. So when you're saying that, hey, now y'all, I want to challenge the hours, you start challenging the hours, and then when they say, okay, yeah, so this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna shut everything down because we believe that what you're saying is precise and true. They're trying to grant you relief in a short way. And let me tell you something, waiving those hours of service for a year or two, that's small. I would be like, man, look, bro, y'all be safe, but I'm grateful that you out there doing it. I'm going to pray for you as you out there doing it. I'm going to pray that God gives you the right state of mind. I'm going to pray that God covers you while you are bringing in water, while you are bringing in cattle, while you are bringing in flour, while you are bringing in whatever from wherever. That's what I would be saying, instead of trying to challenge because they've made it a little bit easier for a product to get somewhere faster. That's all they've done. They're trying to make sure that products and food and water and all of the elements that you need to clean your home, clean your businesses, and make sure that your facilities are free from disease and viruses. They're just trying to make sure you get those products quicker. But see, some people don't look at that. If you want to do something, pray for truckers. Pray for the transportation industry. Pray for those who are bringing products to you from the very first moment that they say it's a pandemic, we shutting down. I never stopped working. And God has covered me. I haven't had COVID. I haven't been sick. God has covered me from the moment words say go. And then because I have other people covering me, and I pray and cover other drivers, it makes it that much better. As an interest group, why don't you just pray over these truck drivers? Pray over these guys that are bringing supplies to your nearest grocery store, to your nearest pharmacist, to your nearest clothing store, to your nearest medical supply store, to your nearest water supply chain. Pray for these guys that they're out there on that highway trying to get this stuff to you, instead of trying to make it a issue because the FMCSA found a way for them to get it to you faster. And even if you do have, and I know we do, even if you do have rogue drivers out there that take advantage of the rule, that take advantage of running over hours, that take advantage of, you got everybody in every industry taking advantage of everything. Everybody everywhere takes advantage. People have taken advantage of the PPP loans. People have taken advantage of other people in this industry. The whole pandemic, they've taken advantage of them. They're rogue people, and you can't stop that. There's no way you can stop that. All you can do is pray and hope and say, "Hey, I hope you don't come across my mom. I hope my mom has enough sense not to get into that. I hope my sister and my uncle have enough sense not to fall for that. I hope I have enough sense not to fall for that." Because you have scammers. They're everywhere. And they came out the woodworks during the pandemic. But you worried about the truckers trying to help make life just a little bit easier for this world, fighting against a pandemic, trying to haul cattle to the people to the processing plants so that we can have meat on the table. Flour, wheat, oat, barley, peanuts, almonds, walnuts, and Christmas gift for your kids. I bet you if you ordered something, interest groups, I bet you every last one of you guys got an Amazon package, a FedEx package, a UPS package, some kind of delivery man at your front door as you're in there lobbying against the hours of service. One of those guys or somebody's at your front door. And how do you think they got those packages? It was because an 18-wheeler brought it to the facility for them to sort. They found your name and put it on a last mile truck. And then that last mile truck got it to your door. That's a supply chain. Those are the gears in this industry that continue to help America turn. If those gears stop, America stops. Believe me. Believe me. And I'm going to tell you now, I work at one of the biggest trucking agencies in America, in the world. We have these trucking institutions are waiting on truck parts to be delivered, and they're all sitting in the water. They're all sitting out there in that water waiting to be delivered. And here you guys are sitting here saying, no, y'all need to slow down. Whether or not they do say, yeah, we with y'all, guess what? Guess what? You're just going to find something else to go in there and cry about. You got trucks sitting up because they can't get truck parts. And if a truck not moving, how you think you're going to get your stuff? We need those containers to get off of those boats and get to those docks so they can get on the back of a truck. And them trucks can get it to the warehouse. And the warehouse can sort it out and get it to the mechanics so that these trucks can keep moving. People sit back and they don't even understand the process of what it goes through and what it takes just to get you one pack of paper to your doorstep or to your local Walmart or Target so that you can go in there and buy it so you have something to write on. Yeah, people still write. I don't care about even these tablets and these telephones. These computers, they're sitting on the ships in the water, waiting to get to the dock. And once they dock, a truck driver goes and picks that container up and takes it to a warehouse so that it can get sorted out. And once it gets sorted out, your order is put on a last mile truck, and then your order's at your door so that you can use it. But here you are trying to tell FMCSA how to do their job. So the last part of this says, FMCSA's final rule, which generated over 80,000 comments, made the following changes to the existing hours of service rules. Change the short haul exemption available to certain commercial drivers. I just read that earlier, what drivers could use the hour of service rule change for the period. By lengthening the driver's maximum on-duty period to 12, from 12 to 14, and extending the distance limited within which the driver may operate from 100 air miles to 150 air miles. increase flexibility for the 30-minute break rule by requiring a break after 8 hours of consecutive driving and allowing the break to be satisfied by a driver using on-duty, not driving status rather than off-duty status. Let me explain to you what that means. Before the hours of service rule for the period, you had to go off-duty for 30 minutes after you've been working 8 hours. Not driving, working. Because you have 14 hours to work, you have 11 hours to drive. Right? So, if you clock in at 7, if you clock in at 9 to 5 is your 8 hours. So before the 5 o'clock hits, you need to be and took a 30-minute break. Well, in between that time, sometimes you get to a stop that requires you to go into on duty, not driving time, right? You may have been there for an hour. Before the hours of service changed, you couldn't use that time because you were still on duty. Well, now that the hour of change, they adjusted the hour of change, you can use that hour or 30 minutes that you're sitting at that customer as your 30-minute break time. You no longer have to be off duty in order to do that. That's all they're saying. You still have to take a 30-minute break. We take breaks throughout the day. See, that's what some of y'all don't understand. We take breaks throughout the day. We're not constantly driving. Some people are, because once they get on the highway, I used to do it. So once you get on the highway, bro, I can put 8 hours under my belt easy. But I still have to pull into a rest area and stretch my legs. I still stop. People still stop. They don't even get that. People are not driving 11 straight hours. People are not driving that kind of time. I can get to a stop to make a delivery. I might have 3 deliveries on my truck. I can get to a stop and be there for an hour. That's a break. I'm not driving. See, y'all not understanding that though. I'm not driving, but FMCSA understands that. So they say, this is what we're going to do for you in order to get you moving again. You're at this customer for an hour. You had already been driving for 6. I'm going to allow you to use that hour as your 30-minute break. You've satisfied your 30-minute break before the 8 hours. So now you can continue to move. So now where you were driving 6 hours and you made a delivery, now you can go ahead and drive the other 5 hours without stopping. That's all they're saying. We're still taking a break. We're still getting rest. We're still getting out, stretching our legs, stretching our arms, going, just getting out of the truck, letting our blood circulate through our legs. What are you guys talking about? Modified the sleeper berth exception to allow drivers to split their required 10 hours of off-duty time into 2 periods, an 8-2 split or a 7-3 split. Neither period counts against the driver's 14-hour driving window. See, at first, without the hours of service, you couldn't do no 7-3 split. You either had to do an 8-2 or a 2 and an 8. It wasn't no 7-3 split. You couldn't do no odd splits like that. All they're doing now is saying, hey, okay, to get you guys moving again, instead of y'all sitting for 8 hours, you can sit for 7. Instead of you sitting for 2, you can sit for 3. But however you do it, it's okay now. But once this is over, you got to go back to your 8-2 split. Or do the full 10. It ain't you don't have to do an 8-2 split. But if I pull over after 8 hours and I want to take a rest, or I'm taking a break, or I'm at a customer who tells me, hey, it's gonna be a couple of hours, man, before we get to either unload you or load you. Oh, okay. I go. Okay, I'm off duty. I can go back there and take me a 2 hours rest break. Go to sleep for 2 hours. Go to sleep for 3 hours. And then when I get up to get loaded, I'm still resting because they gotta load my truck. So now I'm going on 4 hours of rest. But that's not the way that works. You can only use the three. You can't use four. You can only use two. You can't use five. Either you're doing the three and then you're doing the seven, or you're doing the seven, then you're doing the three. Either you're doing the two, then you're doing the eight, or you're doing the eight, then you're doing the two. Or either you're doing the whole 10 at one time. There's really not a lot of difference. So I don't see what the big fuss is about. Modified the adverse driving conditions exemption by extending by 2 hours the maximum window during which driving is permitted. So that means that they extended the hours, like you run into traffic and you're almost to your home base, and you're 2 hours away or an hour away. Well, now I can go to the exemption, and now I have another 2 hours to get to my home base, so that I can go take a 10-hour rest break, or so that I can go off duty and begin my 3-7 split, or my 7-3 split, or begin my 8-2 split, or my 2-8 split, or begin my whole 10 shutdown. That's all that is. None of the rules have changed. They haven't done away with any of. See, I could understand if they would have a legitimate right if they did away with the whole little break. If they did away with the whole break, I can understand that. If they did away with the whole 10 hours, you don't have to do it. If they did away with not having to have to take a break at all at 8 hours, I can understand your gripe. Which I wasn't a big proponent of, shutting us down after 8 hours. But, it is what it is. You was already doing it anyway. But see, we the type of people that when people finally come in and say, okay, it's a rule, then we have a problem with it. But you were already doing it. You were already taking a 30-minute break. You would pull over to go get you something to eat, and that would take you 25, 30 minutes right there. Go in there, take a break, use the restroom, mess around, buy you something for your truck. That's a 30-minute right there. But we just got into a big hissy fit about it because now they're saying, oh, you can be in violation. See, when you hear the word violation as a trucker, now you get up in arms about it because no trucker ever wants to hear the word violation. That means you finna owe some money. You finna pay some money. Or you finna get called in the office and say, hey, man, don't nobody like doing that as no trucker, getting called in no office. So the hours of service challenge is for me, it's just a bunch of smoke. Interest groups coming in, want to be able to find something to attack with the trucking industry, with the transportation industry, and this is the way they have found to attack the transportation industry. I'm passionate about this, the trucking thing. I'm a part of it. I'm in it, and this is what we talk about on the Freight Trapping Podcast. I told you I wasn't gonna be here for 30 minutes, but we got to doing some other things. It never always turns out the way it is. But at this moment, man, I've gotten off what we've talked about the hours of service. Hey, man, y'all go check it out. Keep yourselves abreast about everything that's going on in this transportation industry. Make sure if you're taking the test, make sure you know what test you're taking. Make sure you get with somebody who's going to allow you to apply theory to your answer, so that way when you go in to take your test, you're ready and you won't be spooked because they do try and mix up the tests on you. So, hey man, I just try to give you everything I can and make you aware of a lot of stuff that you otherwise may not be aware of. So, guess what? This has been the Freight Trapping Podcast. And let me say this here. I showed you guys one of my partners, man, they doing some great things. I love cigars. So they started their own brand. Well, they started their own lounge. It's just a lounge for grown to six people to go in there and just kick back, let your hair down for a little bit, go take the kids to granny house, auntie house, whoever gonna watch them, and you just go in there, man, and you just have a really, really nice time. If you're here in the Houston area, it is called Fort. And just do your thing, man. Do your due diligence. Don't let these this hours of service challenge get to you. I just thought it was a good topic for us to talk about tonight, and for me to give my opinion on it. But and like I said, it's just what it is. My opinion. And opinions are just like buttholes. Everybody got one, but they only matter to you. They only matter to you. And that's all it was, my opinion. Anything we say here on Freight Trapping Podcast, any guest, any host, any co-host, it is all just our opinion and not facts. Hey man, this has been the Freight Trapping Podcast. I have been your host, Mr. James Roberts. Hey man, you guys have a good night and stay safe. Get home the way you left, and y'all be easy. Peace.